So I got all dressed up and I was feeling the spooky vibes, and I went to Joann's and decided I kind of want to make a wizard hat. So that's what we're gonna do today. So here's what I got from Joann's. I got a yard of felt by the yard. I got it in this gray color. It looks black because of the black background, but it's more of a charcoaly gray and it has some white mixed into it. I got a yard of this. It's 72 inches across, so I thought that 1 yard would be plenty for 2 hats, but we'll see. Maybe it won't be. And then I got some lining in this like really pretty like sagey green color. And then of course you're gonna need some interfacing to make it stiff so you can make it defy gravity and stuff. Feel free, if you're interested, to pledge to my Patreon, where all of the patterns for everything I do, I upload there for all of my lovely friends that help support what I do. So if you're interested and you want to support me making these videos, give that a look. I have my felt folded over hot dog style, and then on the, what is that? On the fold, I'm going to cut out all of my pattern pieces. So I'm going to put my brim on the fold, like that, and I'm going to put my cone part on the fold, like that. So my total brim is going to be 18 inches across, and the midpoint is where we're going to put our head hole. And then my head hole is going to be like 6.5 inches across. And I'm just going to draw that out directly onto the felt. Take the diameter and place it across the fold. And then your head brim width will go in the center of whatever that measurement is. That probably didn't make any sense. I'm sorry. I'm bad with numbers. Okay, so let me try to explain this again. So the total diameter, sorry, I'm moving a lot. The entire diameter of my brim is 18 inches across. The head hole needs to be in the middle, so half of 18 is 9, right? And I want my head hole to be 6.5 inches in diameter. So I did 3.25 inches out from the midpoint, and then 3.25 inches out from the other direction. That makes sense? Hopefully it did. Ta-da! So, just to be redundant, from the midpoint here, I went down 9 inches and marked, and I did that at every, angle until I went all the way around in a full circle. Well, in a half circle, but when I cut it out, it'll be a full circle. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing for the inner brim, where it's going to rest on my head. Alrighty, and now I have it all traced out. I'm going to cut 2 of these. So I'm going to cut 2 of these from the felt and 2 of these from the interfacing. I got my interface laid on. I'm about to iron it on. Make sure you iron the beaded, can you see that? These beads? Make sure that side is on the fabric. Otherwise you're going to get glue all over your iron and that's not going to be any fun. Also, if you make a little boo-boo like I did here, you can just take a little piece of scrap interfacing and just stick it right there. Patch it up. There you go. Good as new. So this could be fun for a fashion hat if you want to do one of these moments. Ooh, Vogue. But I actually kind of want it to sit a little, what am I trying to say? I want it to fit differently than this. So instead of a floppy, dramatic look, I'm actually going to take a slice out of the cylinder here. I'm going to take a pizza slice out, and then that way it'll form more like a like a cone. I can't words today. I'm just gonna show you what I'm gonna do. Let's pretend for half a second this is my brim, okay? So right now when it sits on my head, it's all floppy, right? So I'm gonna take a pizza slice out of it. So it goes like this, and it starts to, you'll notice it starts to dome like a cone. And I think that just looks a little bit more flattering. Let me explain what I did for the cone here. So this is center front, and this is 22 inches from this point. So my cone is 22 inches tall, and then using the compass method, I used my measuring tape to swing out this curve, so I have a nice rounded curve here, and then I measured out from this point this way I measured it out 13 inches, which is 6.5 times 2, right? That was our head circumference. So I measured out this way, 13 inches, and I marked that point here. And then from there, I drew a diagonal line, and it's not perfectly straight, but I don't care, up to the tip of the cone. And now the same thing out of the lining. Now this is the hard part. So we have our cone right side up, and we're going to take our brim with the right side facing downwards, so our right sides are together, and we're going to have to pin our brim, the inside part, to the bottom of the hat. So you're gonna have to wrangle it a little bit because it's two curved pieces. They're not gonna want to lay flush. So here it is pinned on. See, it's really ruffly because it's a curve, but that's okay because I'm just gonna sew along this line anyway, and it'll be fine. And then we're gonna turn it right side out, and there you go. That's your brim. But full disclosure, I realized I made a mistake. I have all this extra hat, and I was like, where did that come from? But then I realized earlier in this clip, so I measured out this way, that I had added like an inch seam allowance on the side, but it was folded in half, so I ended up with 2 extra inches of room that I didn't need. So I'm just gonna sew this up and then trim this off after I've sewn it together, just in case I I don't know, mess up or something. I want to be able to reverse any mistakes I made. So after you're all done sewing this one, do the exact same thing to the other half. Okay, now you should have your 2 halves of a hat sewn together. Take your outermost shell and flip it right side out, like how it's supposed to look, and leave your inner shell like this. Take your inner shell, the lining of the hat, and with it inside out, you're going to overlay it on top of the outer shell right side out. You're gonna put this inside of this. Okay, so there's my hat inside of the lining, okay? And you want to make sure that your seams match. I'm going to pin it around the brim like this and sew it together. And then, I forgot to mention this earlier, but your lining, you're going to want to leave a gap here in the center, but you're going to leave this gap open here in the middle. And we'll go back and hand sew this close, so don't worry about it. Leave this open. That way you can sew this completely shut all the way around the brim, and then when we're ready to turn it right side out, you can pull it through this hole. Good morning, everyone. Okay, so this is where we left off last night, and as you can see, currently my hat's pretty limp and not very magical and lifelike just yet. So I'm gonna stuff it with some cotton to give it a little bit of oomph, and then we're going to go in and stitch, do some hand stitching to really give it that wizard shape. So from the inside of the hat, I'm gonna stuff some filling, some batting into the lining in that hole we just made. If I can find it. Here we go. So here's my hole in here. See that? Where it's not stitched. And I'm going to stuff the batting between the lining layer and the hat. So this is where we're at. This is where you should be in your hat. We still haven't sewn up the hole in the lining yet. That's because we're going to go in through the lining, into that hole, stick your hand in here, go into the back seam, and then figure out where you're going to want to pinch your hat to form that curve. So I'm going to do this 3 places along my hat to kind of make it look like this. You see the shape? You can get fancy with it. You can do this number if you wanted to, but you're going to want to make sure your hand is between the outer shell and the lining layer. And then from there I'm going to take a hand sewing needle with my fabric pinched, and I'm going to stitch between these folds here, just on the outer shell, not with the lining, so that it'll hold it in place. So now the final step is just to top stitch along the edge of the brim here. This is technically optional, you don't have to do this, but I think it just looks nicer. And here's the final look. I ended up making this hat in a black and a cream color as well, and I love all of them so much. If you'd like to purchase one of these hats from me, they are available on my Etsy store, linked in the description. I hope you all had a happy Halloween, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!